You've tuned into The Mountain Gardener with your host, Ken Lain. Gardening it can be challenging, but with these simple insider tips, you'll reap huge rewards. Now, let's tune into today's Mountain Gardener with Ken and Lisa. So, one area that confuses a lot of new gardeners are bulbs like iris and tulips and daffodils and hyacinth and Mascares, there's all freesias, there's all these spring blooming bulbs. But you have to be a true gardener to deal with bulbs because you're planting them now for next spring. 6 months from now, they'll be in bloom. So you have to really be thinking ahead. I mean, it's a true gardener's delight because you're planning ahead. But if you're a rookie, you're seeing the daffodils bloom out there, the iris bloom out there, the tulips, and you're going, oh, I want some of those. But it's too late. You had to back up and plant those back in the fall. That's when you put them in. The other challenge is, I mean, I have not sold bulbs here at Waters Garden Center for 20 years. They're a commodity. You buy them from a box store in some just pretty box. They're in a bag of sawdust with a shriveled, bad quality, terrible grade, and I couldn't get the growers to get me a decent grade. I'm a premier boutique garden center. This is high end. We're not just some box thing selling plants under the dim lights of some fluorescent bulb. We're actually we're a botanical garden. And our plants are a higher grade. There are different grades. There's A grade, B grade, contractor grade, and then there's it's going to the dumpster. You want one? There's actually 4 different grades. We're the same with bulbs. There's different grades. There should be, but there weren't. So they were shriveled. They were bad. If you've had kind of failures in the past, it's because you had an old bulb that should never have been out there for sale. So what did I do? Well, I've got friends. And so I know the growers. They're friends of mine who grow bulbs. Most bulbs are grown in Holland. That's where they're at. They harvest those. They put them in coolers. They ship them across the base of the pond. They have a warehouse here that's refrigerated and cool. Then they'll package them and send them off to the different warehouses or different retailers or different box stores or different where just they're shipping them out. Then they sit there and slowly dry. The second they come out of that cooler, they start to age and shrivel. And it just affects the size and the quality and the experience. If we can direct ship from that farmer's main category and ship it right to your door, that is the best. The bulbs will be firmer, they'll be fuller, they'll be voluptuous. You plant those and they will take off with better flowers next spring. So instead of having bulbs here at the garden center, we have a website that we set up and you direct ship it right from my buddy and it goes right to your door. Kind of the middleman helping you get the best access to the best colors, the best, freshest, highest quality. And so I kind of know who's growing the better bulbs. Some of them are trashy. I mean, I've had, what experience I have. I can't share that because I bought it from a box store. I wanted some bulbs. I'm a gardener. I like bulbs. But they say 100 bulbs in a bag for $19.99. And I went, okay, that seems like a fair price, but some of the bulbs are so tiny, they're the size of a pea. That is not fair. You cannot count that. That is not real. That is cheesy marketing spin. That's unfair advertising. You shouldn't be doing that. These are actually grade A, bigger bulbs. And so you can plant those in. Now here's the insider. So where do you go? Top 10 bulbs, top, like a top, the number 10 bulbs.com takes you right to the landing page. You can do your own research. I wanted to cover though, in this segment, when do you plant each one? So there's different waves of them. So you start with your iris. Iris really should be planted before the ground gets cold and frosty. So they want to root out early. So we start planting those in September and October. So you should feel some urgencies. If you want bearded iris next spring, you should be planting those like immediately. Go buy them now, ship them, get them in the ground. I need to get those in now. But regular bulbs, your freesias and mascares and hyacinth and tulips and daffodils and alliums are spectacular here because the javelina won't eat them. Daffodils are spectacular here because the javelina won't eat them. Tulips, be careful. Make sure they're in the backyard where the javelina will eat those. And so there's different grades. We actually set up a site, javelina resistive bulbs. We just curated them for you so you don't make a mistake and put food out there and have them all disrupted. And so we've got different, we've tried to package them for you so you won't make a mistake. We've got fresher bulbs. Now, your regular bulbs should be planted after your first frost. So it's a little bit early. So we've been selling daffodils, alliums, some of these others, but they haven't quite shipped yet. They're about to ship. So I'm trying to hold them off, going, don't give them to my folks. I don't want them planting them too early. Then they start to come up out of the ground, and then they're out of the ground for all winter. You want them to start rooting, but then stay underground, and then they start emerging at the first spring thaw. There's a timing thing there, and you got to be almost spot on with that. And so really the best time to plant bulbs here, I mean, not iris are early, but everything else is planted really the end of this month through November, basically. Maybe the first part of December, but really it's the end of this month, the first part of November. That is your time for all your spring blooming bulbs. Now, just let me give a caveat here. There's also an entire series of summer blooming bulbs. These are dahlias, lilies. There's several of them that bloom in the summer. Now, those do not winter over with us typically. And so we don't sell those bulbs now. We wait, and those you'll be able to get those in the spring season. So you plant those when the risk of freezing ground is over, typically like April, very first part of May. That's your window. So there's very specific windows on when you plant certain things. And if you miss that, you'll see bulbs for sale in December. They're the leftover dredges. I mean, I'm embarrassed to look at them going, they take $1 for that. They should be paying you to take those away, not having you pay them. They just should not be sold. They're not fresh. They're not going to do you well. They aren't going to come up. You need to get the timing right. So bulbs are the way. They're beautiful. They're spectacular. Top10bulbs.com. They direct ship. I just planted a second wave of iris a couple weeks ago. And so they came in like 2-3 days. They were in my doors, planted them just like that. I just had my first, I've had several daffodils. I love daffodils because they're pretty. There's lots of new colors. They're so resistive to rabbits and deer and antelope and javelina that just things don't eat that. So they're perfect for here. They're long lived. They come back for years and years. They're just a good, strong allium. Spectacular. It's basically an ornamental onion, basically, or garlic. It's a big old pom-pom purpley flower to it. Not all of them are purple, but mostly blues and purples. And they're just got a beautiful structure to them. They stand tall. They wave in the wind. They're a good plant for your the animals aren't going to bother them. So that's the insider scoop on bulbs. Here's another one for you folks in that heavy clay soil. Bulbs will rot. If they sit there, and they do it in March, you sit there in the soil and you get that heavy, wet snow in March, and they're just sitting there gooey. It's just, they want to be able to breathe. They need air around that bulb to properly bloom right. If not, the bacterias and stuff will start to eat at the sugars inside this bulb, and it just rots there. So make sure it drains. That's why I think we underplay planting bulbs in containers. It's just, they're so beautiful. Plant bulbs, plant a whole bunch of tulips underneath the pansies or the kale you're going to have for your winter blooming color. And then come spring, the bulbs come up through the winter flowers like snapdragons and alyssums and stock and all these different winter flowers. And it's just striking. You can have layers of colors coming through, and then you get out of this risk of having your plants, your roots rot from your bulbs. That's the Insider Scoop, top10bulbs.com. Not promoting that, just letting you know why maybe you haven't succeeded before and how to succeed.
Water's October companion plants that grow well together are blaze maple, burning bush, spicy mums, and glamour kale.
Few flowers are more elegant in fall than Water's Glamour Kale.
The autumn colors are perfect for containers, beds, and borders.
And it's so easy to grow.
This unique Prescott selection is an award winner for cold hardiness, intense red, purple flowers in a frilly package.
You'll find bright fall flowers here at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. For a more fruitful garden, increased success in the landscape that just feels better, then tune in daily to the Mountain Gardener podcast. Subscribe through your favorite podcast streamer or visit watersgardencenter.com. Better yet, visit me directly right here at Waters Garden Center. Thanks for tuning in.